Welcome back to the deep dive. Today,
Yeah.
we're diving into, I guess you could say, critical, but often overlooked aspect of pharmaceuticals.
Yeah.
Current good manufacturing practices, or CGMPs as they're called. We've got a stack of articles and research here. Our mission today is to break down how these regulations ensure the quality and safety of the medications. Well, the medications all of us depend on.
Yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it? I mean, we pop a pill
Yeah.
or get an injection, rarely thinking about all the
Very interesting.
intricate processes behind making those things. And CGMPs are kind of like the invisible guardians of drug manufacturing. They're the ones that make sure that what you take actually does what it's supposed to do.
Okay, so for those of us who aren't pharmacists or, work in the industry, can you break that down a little bit more for us? What are the core principles of CGMPs, especially when it comes to actually making the drugs?
Well, you can think of it as a system of interlocking safeguards, I guess at its heart. CGMPs are all about meticulous documentation. And what I mean by that is every single step, from sourcing raw materials to the final packaging, is meticulously recorded. It's like karate, following an incredibly detailed recipe. But in this case, even the slightest deviation can have serious consequences.
It's not just about having a recipe. It's about proving you followed it to the letter.
Exactly, precisely. This rigorous documentation creates an unbroken chain of traceability. So if there's ever a question about a batch of medication, you can actually trace each ingredient back to its source, understand how it was processed, and identify any potential issues along the way. This level of transparency is crucial for building trust and ensuring accountability.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, what about the facilities themselves? I imagine they play a pretty significant role in maintaining that level of quality.
Oh, absolutely. Facility design is a cornerstone of CGMP compliance. We're not talking about your average factories here. We're talking about environments that are designed for absolute control and sterility. Think of it like, a surgical operating room.
Yeah.
But on a much larger scale, every aspect of that facility, from airflow and temperature to humidity, and even the materials used in construction, is carefully controlled to prevent contamination.
So it's about more than just cleanliness then. It's about creating an environment where nothing can really compromise the purity of the product.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it. And then,
Yeah.
Layered on top of that, you have a whole system of quality control measures woven into every single step of the process. So, for example, raw materials are rigorously tested before they even enter the facility. Equipment is calibrated and validated regularly. And throughout the entire manufacturing process, samples are taken and analyzed to make sure that they meet strict specifications.
Wow. It sounds incredibly thorough.
Yeah.
I think what strikes me is how, This level of scrutiny is maintained throughout the whole process. It's not just about checking the final product at the end. It's about building quality in from the very beginning.
Yeah. You've hit on one of the key principles of CGMPs there. Quality isn't an afterthought. It's built into the system right from the ground up. It's a proactive approach designed to prevent problems rather than react to them after the fact.
And this attention to detail extends beyond just the physical aspects, right? You also mentioned before the show the importance of personnel and training.
Absolutely. You can have the most state-of-the-art facility and equipment, but it's the people who ultimately drive quality. CGMPs recognize this by emphasizing the importance of well-trained and qualified personnel, everyone involved, from the scientists developing the formulations to the technicians operating the equipment, needs to fully understand their role in maintaining quality and safety.
It's like a complex orchestra where every musician needs to be perfectly in sync to create that harmonious result in the end.
That's a great analogy. I like that, Comprehensive training programs ensure that everyone understands the procedures, the potential risks, and how to respond to any deviations. It's about fostering a culture of quality that permeates the entire organization.
We've got, the documentation, facility design, quality control, and a highly trained team. What's the glue that holds all of this together?
That would be the master batch record, or MBR, you can think of it as, the definitive blueprint. For producing a specific batch of medication, this document outlines every single step of the manufacturing process, from the specific quantities of each ingredient to the equipment used, processing times, temperatures, and, of course, all the critical quality control checkpoints along the way.
So the facility is like the orchestra hall, and the people are the musicians. The MBR is the conductor's score, It's
Oh.
making sure that everyone is playing from the same sheet of music.
Exactly. That's a perfect way to think about it. The MBR
Yeah.
is the ultimate reference point, ensuring that each batch is produced consistently and meets the required quality standards.
But who's making sure that everyone's actually following that score? Who are the auditors in this orchestra of pharmaceutical production?
Well, that's where the FDA comes in. They play a crucial role in enforcing CGMP compliance. They conduct rigorous inspections and audits to verify that manufacturers are adhering to these regulations.
Yeah.
And it's not just a quick glance either. These inspections are incredibly thorough. I mean, FDA inspectors scrutinize every aspect of the operation, from reviewing documentation and interviewing personnel to observing processes in action, and even collecting samples for independent testing.
Wow, it sounds pretty intense. So what happens if a manufacturer is found to be out of compliance? I mean, what are the consequences of that?
Well, the consequences can be pretty significant. I mean, they can range from warning letters and fines to product recalls or even the suspension of manufacturing licenses. These actions highlight the seriousness with which the FDA views CGMP compliance, after all. We're talking about protecting public health.
Yeah, it makes you realize that these regulations, really do have teeth. It's not just about paperwork. It's about making sure that medications are produced safely and meet those highest quality standards.
Exactly. Now, you might be wondering, with all these complexities, how do companies actually manage to navigate this intricate world of CGMPs?
I was just thinking that,
Yeah,
especially for smaller companies.
Yep.
They might not have the resources to handle all of this in-house.
that's a great point. And that's where contract development and manufacturing organizations come into play, or CDMOs, as they're often called. These are specialized companies that handle the manufacturing of drugs for other companies, known as sponsors.
It's like outsourcing,
Yeah.
a crucial part of that drug development process.
In a way, yes, the sponsor, which is typically the pharmaceutical company developing the drug,
Yeah.
provides the blueprint, the master batch record that we talked about earlier. And the CDMO is responsible for executing that blueprint to the letter.
It sounds like
Yeah.
a very delicate dance that requires a lot of trust and collaboration.
It really is. It's a true partnership. The sponsor retains overall responsibility for the quality and safety of the drug, but they rely on the CDMO's expertise in manufacturing and CGMP compliance to actually produce it.
So let's unpack this relationship a little bit.
Right.
What are the specific responsibilities of each party?
Typically, the sponsor handles tasks like developing the drug formulation, conducting clinical trials, and obtaining regulatory approval. They also set the quality standards and provide the CDMO with the necessary technical information, including that all-important master batch record.
And what about the CDMO? What's on their plate?
Well, the CDMO's primary responsibility is to manufacture the drug according to the sponsor's specifications and in full compliance with CGMP regulations. This involves everything from sourcing raw materials and setting up the manufacturing process to conducting quality control tests and packaging the final product.
It's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah.
How do they ensure that they're really up to the task?
Well, reputable CDMOs have robust quality management systems in place and are regularly audited by regulatory authorities, like the FDA, to ensure that their facilities, processes, and personnel all meet the highest standards.
It's interesting how this whole system really creates a network of checks and balances, with everyone playing a very specific role to ensure that quality and safety.
It's a carefully orchestrated system
But
designed to minimize risks and
Yeah.
maximize patient safety.
Oh.
And, while it may seem like an overwhelming amount of regulations and processes, they all serve a critical purpose.
It's like a safety net woven from meticulous documentation, rigorous quality control, and a shared commitment to excellence.
Exactly. And just like a safety net, you might not always see it, but it's there, working behind the scenes to protect you.
This deep dive has really illuminated the intricate world of drug manufacturing. It's fascinating how these, seemingly dry regulations actually translate into real-world safeguards for patients like you and me.
It's about ensuring that when you reach for that bottle of pills or receive that injection, you can have confidence that it's been produced with the utmost care and precision.
This is definitely making me think twice about all those medications I've taken over the years.
It's a reminder that there's a whole world of science, expertise, and regulatory oversight working tirelessly to protect our health.
And we're just scratching the surface here. We've mainly been focusing on the foundational elements of CGMPs. But I'm curious to delve a bit deeper into how these principles, are applied in different areas of pharmaceutical manufacturing?
Well, there's definitely a lot more to explore. For instance, the world of biopharmaceuticals, like vaccines and gene therapies, presents unique challenges and requires specialized approaches to
That's
CGMP compliance.
that's a great point. Biopharmaceuticals, they're incredibly complex, often involving living organisms in the manufacturing process. I can only imagine the intricate steps required to ensure quality and safety in that realm.
Yeah, you're right. It's a whole different ballgame. And with the rise of personalized medicine and advancements in areas like cell and gene therapy, the landscape of pharmaceutical manufacturing is rapidly evolving.
So how are CGMPs adapting to these new frontiers of medicine? Are the traditional principles still relevant in these cutting-edge fields?
Well, while the core principles of CGMPs remain steadfast, they need to be interpreted and implemented in ways that address the unique challenges posed by these advancements.
This raises so many intriguing questions. For example, how do you ensure consistency and quality control when you're essentially manufacturing a customized treatment for each patient?
That's one of the key challenges in personalized medicine. It requires a shift from traditional large-scale manufacturing to more flexible and adaptable systems that can handle smaller, individualized batches.
It's like moving from mass production to bespoke tailoring in the pharmaceutical world.
Exactly. And CGMPs need to evolve alongside these changes to ensure that personalized therapies are just as safe and effective as their mass-produced counterparts.
It sounds like the future of pharmaceutical manufacturing is going to require even more ingenuity and collaboration to strike that balance between innovation and regulation.
Absolutely. And as technology continues to advance, we can expect to see even more innovative approaches to CGMP compliance, driven by data analytics, automation, and a deeper understanding of the biological processes involved.
This is also incredibly insightful. I feel like I've gained a whole new appreciation for the complexities of drug manufacturing and the crucial role CGMPs play in ensuring our safety and well-being.
It's a fascinating field, and understanding these principles is crucial for anyone involved in pharmaceuticals or simply interested in learning more about the medications they rely on.
It's a reminder that behind every pill or injection, there's a whole ecosystem of science, technology, and meticulous processes working to ensure its quality and effectiveness.
And that's precisely why CGMPs are so essential. They provide the framework for ensuring that innovation and scientific advancements translate into safe and effective treatments that benefit patients worldwide. It's really remarkable, how these regulations are constantly evolving to keep pace with these advancements in medicine.
Yeah. We've been talking about the US FDA, but are CGMPs a purely American thing, or do other countries have similar systems in place?
That's a great question. And while specific regulations may vary from country to country, the concept of good manufacturing practices is recognized globally. In fact, there's a strong push towards harmonizing these standards internationally.
So there's like a global effort then to ensure that medications are produced
Yeah.
to a consistent level of quality, no matter where they're actually manufactured.
Exactly. The International Council for Harmonization of Technical Requirements for Pharmaceuticals for Human Use, or ICH for short, plays a key role in this effort.
So the ICH is kind of like the United Nations of pharmaceutical regulation, bringing everyone together to agree on these common standards.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. The ICH brings together regulatory authorities and pharmaceutical industry experts from different regions to develop harmonized guidelines for drug development, manufacturing, and quality control.
That sounds like a monumental task.
Yeah.
How do they manage to bridge the gaps between different regulatory systems and cultural approaches to medicine even?
Well, it's definitely a complex process requiring a lot of collaboration and compromise. But the benefits are significant. By aligning on common standards, it streamlines the drug approval process, reduces duplication of effort, and ultimately helps bring safe and effective medications to patients around the world more efficiently.
It makes you realize how interconnected the world of pharmaceuticals really is. It's not just about individual countries anymore. It's a global effort to advance healthcare and improve patient outcomes.
It is, absolutely. And CGMPs are a foundational element of that global effort, providing the framework for ensuring quality and safety across borders.
Wow. This has been an incredible deep dive. We've gone from the meticulous details of documentation and facility design all the way to the global harmonization of standards and the challenges of personalized medicine. It's amazing how much we've unpacked just from these few research articles and reports.
It really is. I think it's a testament to the complexity and importance of pharmaceutical manufacturing. And while it's a highly regulated and technical field, Understanding the basics of CGMPs is crucial for anyone who takes medication, works in the industry, or simply has an interest in how these life-saving treatments are made.
Yeah, it's definitely made me more aware
Hmm.
of what goes on behind the scenes. So I don't think I'll ever look at a pill bottle the same way again.
And that's really the goal of these deep dives, right? It's to give you a glimpse into this intricate world of drug manufacturing and the critical role that CGMPs play in ensuring that the medications you rely on are safe, effective,
Right.
and produced to the highest standard.
This has been an eye-opening exploration, and I'm sure our listeners will feel much more informed about the medications they take. Thank you for guiding us through this fascinating world.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And to our listeners,
Yeah,
keep asking questions, stay curious, and never underestimate the importance of quality when it comes to your health.
that's a great takeaway. And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive into CGMPs. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time for another fascinating exploration.